Hello, everybody. Welcome. And I'm on the little chair today. It looks as though my podcast has finally been taken over by my daughter. So a big round of applause for Lauren for pulling this off. And we should have up on the screen at some stage, if you can see it, some QR codes will flash up, and you might be able to upvote your favorite question. But we do have some great questions for these guys. First of all, one of the questions was, and I don't know if it's going to come up, which one of the panelists should wear the orange tutu? Who do you think, Lauren?
I don't know. Yeah, I think Jojo Crinjo because.
Jojo Crinjo.
Yeah.
Is this my crypto alter ego?
Well, here are some of the questions. Okay, so pass over the tutu.
Here you go. Here's the tutu.
There you go.
Thank you, Lauren. I
You're
am
welcome.
really grateful. This is just what I wanted. Can you hold my mic?
So, Lauren, fire away with some of your questions.
How do you wear a tutu?
Hold on.
Just like that? All right.
Take pictures.
What's
You
the
can
most
blackmail him in Satoshis. Oh, sorry.
What's the most shocking thing you spent your Bitcoin on?
What's shocking? Sorry.
The most shocking thing you spent your Bitcoin on?
I've got an answer in the meantime.
The most shocking thing you spent your Bitcoin on?
Oh, okay.
You got one? Or I know, I've got one. This was actually a really bad one as well because it happened during the most recent fee spike, you know, when the Bitcoin base chain became pretty much unusable for day-to-day transactions, which we know it eventually will be. But I was at the dentist's and I was getting my wisdom tooth out. And while I was there, he said, "Would you like to get your other wisdom tooth out?" And I thought, yeah, sure, why not? I've never had that done before. Apparently it's really painful. You take a lot of drugs too, and you know, they rip your wisdom teeth out. He accepted Bitcoin, this is the point of the story. And yeah, when we went to pay at the end, I didn't have enough Bitcoin in my Lightning wallet to pay him over the Lightning network, so I had to pay him over base chain because I didn't realize I was getting 2 teeth taken out. And so I had to sit in the waiting area with an ice pack on the side of my face in lots of pain. It's actually really painful getting your wisdom tooth taken out. Logging into my Wasabi wallet on my desktop to pay him base chain. And when I went to pay, of course, I saw the fees. And he was there like, yeah, I've got my next patient. Can you please pay me quickly? And I was like, the next block is like $25 to pay it. So I ended up paying like 2.5 times what I should have done to get my tooth out. So that was a weird thing to pay for in Bitcoin, but also shocking because of the fee I paid. So yeah, let that be known. Make sure you have enough money in your Lightning wallets. Do you want to see it?
No, not really.
Fair enough.
For me, it was, you remember you were very, very young, but there was the Lightning torch going on. So Hodlonaut started a Lightning payment with the idea that you add some Satoshis and you pass it over like a torch to other people. So the torch arrived to me when I was driving from Switzerland to Italy to go to a meetup. I stopped my car and I had the torch. I was very happy. So somebody had to publish their invoice under the tweet to receive the torch. So I see one guy publishing give it to me. I see the invoice, I click on the profile, and it says Bitcoin maximalist. There is a wizard picture. I say, tribalist confirmation bias. It's one of us. And so I send probably, I don't remember, but maybe $700 worth of Bitcoin, something like that. And I wait for him to pass it over, and it disappears. Because it was just a troll created to steal, specifically to steal the torch. So I had to spend my own money to recreate the torch in order not to break the whole thing because it was stupid. So don't trust, verify.
Rugged.
You have to ask, what is Bitcoin? Explain it to me like I'm a 12-year-old.
Okay, so looks like the poll is in. So the question was, what is Bitcoin? Explain it to me like I'm a 12-year-old.
I mean, you would do a lot better than this. I am a journalist, and as you know, journalists are liars. So I'm probably going to lie about this and make a mistake along the way. So can I defer to Giacomo?
So The first thing you have to understand as a 12 years old is the concept of work. You are doing something that will change reality around you. This is something physical that cannot be undone and will have a cost for you. So there is work and there is a digital proof of work. So you can create a document on a computer that can prove that you made some work. Bitcoin is a transferable and divisible proof of work. So you just make some work, then you fraction it into little pieces, and you can pass it over in some kind of like, I would say, signature network. So you can pass it by signing messages. So it's like you have a paper when you prove that you made some work in the physical realm. So it's not something digital. Bitcoin is itself physical because you are proving that you spent physical resources, but then you can fraction it and move it around, which is the added value.
Okay,
You got that?
that's a pretty good answer. Joe? No?
You want me to try?
I want you to try. You can do this.
I mean, I can't explain Bitcoin to an adult, let alone a 12-year-old. And 12-year-olds are much smarter these days than most adults. Okay, Bitcoin is like well, it's on the internet, which obviously you know about. And it's basically money, which you know about. And if you have what's called like a lightning invoice, you can tweet it on Twitter, which you know about. And then people all around the world might pay you because these Bitcoin people are crazy and generous. So if I create for you a Lightning wallet, which I'm sure your dad has already, then we can make lots of Bitcoin together. And if you like, we can split that payment so we can go halves on if we do this. Shall we do that together? We can do a tweet where we tweet out your invoice and we can go halves?
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Yeah? Can we do it right now?
No, let's do it after the panel.
This was much better. I mean, I was assuming a very nerdy 12 years old.
Lauren, ask that one quickly in the top corner.
Oh, fuck.
If you were put an ordinal, I couldn't read it in time.
If you were to put an ordinal on the blockchain, what would it be? That was the question. I think upvoted by the crowd, actually. So,
What?
look, it says there. That's the question, guys.
can't
If you were
say
to
it.
put an ordinal on the blockchain, what would it be?
Maybe a photo of this panel, just to go a bit meta about it all. You know, a photo of all of us together. That or like something really meaningful. Like I've still not minted an ordinal, I just don't really care. But maybe at some point it might be really nice to inscribe a message. But I'd probably just use an OP return if I could, if I was clever enough to do so. So yeah, a photo of this panel. Would you be okay with that, Giacomo?
I would inscribe, that would be very expensive, the entire the video of my presentation of tomorrow about why ordinals are retarded.
Okay. Okay. If you were to start a band, which Bitcoiners would you choose, and
Knut.
what name would you call it?
Ooh, this is really good. I mean, Knut, obviously, in some shape or form, because the guy shreds. Sophie, my wonderful partner, because she has amazing vocals. Probably Mir on backing vocals. Giacomo on backing vocals. Yeah. And I mean, I would have to put myself forward as a guitarist. And then the bass player would be Ricky from Ricky and Laura, the Bitcoin Explorers, because him in his punk rock days was, you know, a real mosher. And I think we complete the band there. Yeah, Knut is like versatile. He's like drumming, then he's guitaring, then he's like moshing. So yeah. And the name of it, so like the band I had with Sophie, like her surname's Guests, so it was Sophie and the Guests. So could it be like Knut and the Sats? No, that sounds rubbish. I'd ask ChatGPT, to be honest. Can I do that now? All right,
If you want.
bear with me 2 moments while you ask Giacomo. What should my Bitcoin band be called? Satoshi and the Guest, of course. That's why she's there.
So I would have to recycle Knut Cobain for sure. I mean, he's a beast. He's an animal. It's impossible. And I will also have to recycle Mir as a vocalist because for obvious reasons. Because Exactly, she will kill me otherwise. No, of course. Also, yesterday night there was a core developer playing guitar in a great way, Eric Lombroso, core contributor and father of multi-sig wallets, and it was great, like improvising. I would definitely would have Eric. And at the very first event that started the thing that we did yesterday night, it was a venue in Mexico where there was Bitcoin Mechanic playing. Bitcoin Mechanic was working for Embassy OS. You can find it's called Lex, and he was playing the keys and the guitar together. Like it was like getting the strings and then playing the keys in a very effective way. And yeah, the names are difficult. I guess that I will also add Adam Beck at the vocals, so we can have the Backstreet Boys and some kind of. Oh, that means that we also want Nick Carter, I guess.
Yeah, can't wait to hear your guys' music.
Coming soon.
Okay, I'll ask another question.
Can I just say that Lauren is doing a better job than most moderators I've been on stage with, by a long
Thank
way.
you. Thank you.
Honestly, well done, Lauren.
With a lot of difficulty adjustment because we cannot hear anything of what we're saying, which is.
Thank you. So if you had a pet, what Bitcoin-themed name would you call it, and why?
This is so like boring, but I love dogs, and it would have to be a dog, and it would have to be something like Labrahoddle, or like Pooch Sats, or actually, so the Cuban Bitcoin community, they have a cat, and they didn't know its sex when it was born, and they rescued it, and they called it Hal after Hal Finney because they're that like Bitcoin maxi. They just really get it. And eventually the cat grew older and they realized it was a girl cat, but they ended up with, the female Hal Finney cat. And when I went to visit them for dinner, Hal ran away. So make of that what you will. The next day, Hal turned up just in time to make the Bitcoin meetup. So yeah, I think Hal is actually a really good sort of, it's because it's not that Bitcoiny as well. People are like, oh, Hal, that's a name. And then the Bitcoiners are like, oh, I get it. And that's, you want that sort of subtle reference to Bitcoin. So yeah, maybe Hal, a Labrador called Hal. Sophie, can we? We can.
So if it was a cat, probably Samson Mew would be fun. But I guess that if I wanted to have a pet, I would just take home the honey badger here. It seems very funny. I don't know his name or her name or its name, but
I know where he lives. I know his room number.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So yeah, we can adopt it. Mir, can we adopt it? The honey badger giant? Okay.
Yeah. I would adopt the honey badger too. Anyways.
But what would you call it, Lauren? What would you call the chimp?
Sorry?
What would you call the chimp?
Oh, sorry.
Monkey JPEG.
Yeah, now I really need to think about that. I'll get to that. I'll get to that. Okay, so I'm gonna go. Okay, what is your favorite thing about Bitcoin?
Me first? All right. There's too many to list, but oh wow, this is gonna get really cringy. You know that Daniel Prince's kids literally call me Jojo Crinjo because I am very cringe. I've embraced it, but maybe that's the thing about Bitcoin that's great, is that you realize that there's other weirdos like you that are also obsessed with this virtual currency that makes no sense to 99% of people, and yet here we are filling up a room trying to change the world for the better. So I guess, yeah, it would have to be this realizing that you can be authentic, you can be accepted in a space, you can be bloody weird, and it's okay to do so, because most Bitcoiners, you've probably met a load of them by now, Lauren, they're really weird.
Yeah, I sadly don't remember most of them.
You don't remember? Oh, shots fired. We can talk about this later at the bar. But yeah, no, the fact that learning about Bitcoin, learning about money, getting orange pilled, there's some sort of personality transformation that takes place, and you realize that a lot of Bitcoin people are very authentic, they're very much themselves, and they're very happy in their own skins. Whereas when you speak to your mainstream or normie friends, a lot of them are fighting to be someone they're not. And you're like, I kind of wish you would get Bitcoin to be more yourself and to like be
Yeah.
comfortable in your own skin. And so I think that, yeah, orange pilling is not just about the money, it's also about becoming yourself. So I really love that part of Bitcoin. Thank you.
For me, my favorite thing about Bitcoin is that I used to tend to get bored about stuff. Like when I was a kid, I wanted to be an archaeologist because I was watching Indiana Jones movies. So I started to study ancient, like I did classical letters to become an archaeologist. But after a few years, I was so bored by history and archaeology, so I started to study physics by myself. Then I joined physics in university, and by the second year, I was so filled up with physics, and I started to study economics, and then I was keeping to get bored. With Bitcoin, since December 2012, I cannot find it boring because every time you think you understand something, it opens up so many other things that you cannot know. And there are so many things to explore within Bitcoin without needing to move. I can move from computer science, which basically I'm completely ignorant of, to mathematics of finite fields, to society and politics, to monetary theory, to game theory, to security, to hardware and electronics, to memes and sociology of weirdos. So you can do everything in Bitcoin. You never have to look elsewhere so far. And I think it will last for a while.
Yeah, Bitcoin is so full of information, you can never get bored of it. Unless your dad talks about it every single day, 24/7.
I'm just saying, I'm going to really enjoy my time on stage because I know that in like 2 years' time, I will never, ever be a panelist again. It will all be Lauren.
Yes. I was just
You can drop the mic if you want. I take it.
I was just about to tell her to speak louder into the mic so everybody could hear what she said, but then she just completely roasted me. So, you know. Do you have any further questions?
Let's see. Oh, okay.
Uh-oh.
That's scary.
That was louder, okay. If you could orange pill everyone in the world, who is the last one you would give it to?
That's so good. This is because also this is a play off what you usually do on the podcast, which is who's the orange pill you'd give to if you could. And actually, when I answered it on your podcast, not your dad's podcast, your podcast, I said my mum because like I really want her to be on board with what I'm doing and to like buy into it and all that. But I think that I would actually save it for my mum just as like a revenge play to be like. But like, look at all these people, mum. Look how right they all are. And she'd still be like, no, it's a scam. No, it burns the, ice caps or whatever bollocks she's read in the Times that day. And so, yeah, I think I'm gonna give it to her last, just to like have my last little wicked laugh. Because she'd eventually get orange pilled, right? She'd still get on the Noah's Ark and sail off into the distance. So yeah, my mum.
Yeah, pretty good answer.
For me, it's very difficult. I have such a long list of sworn enemies that I don't know where to start. I am afraid to make some thought. So, I mean, probably, can I include dead people?
Yeah, sure, you can do anyone.
I guess that even there are a lot of people in the history of fiat money that took part in it, from Franklin Delano Roosevelt to the first central bank in London. I think Richard Nixon would be a good choice because he was the final peak of the start of the current fiat experiment, and also a lot of other bad things. And also he's a character in Futurama, so I can imagine the head of Nixon trying to take the pill, and he can't. So it's funny. So Richard Nixon.
Okay. Good answers.
So rogue.
Okay. Do you have any votes?
What is going on here, by the way?
There's questions that are up here, and they're getting upvoted when people are flashing the QR code here. There's one down
Okay.
here, which might be quite interesting. Lauren?
Which one?
Explain,
what?
Josiah.
I don't know what that is, so I'm just gonna ask.
Okay, well then ask what is
So these
Okay.
Dr. Evil chairs are beautiful, by the way.
Someone give him a cat.
So, what is a seed phrase? What's a seed phrase?
You want me to try it and make a tit of myself and then give it to you again? Let's do it. A seed phrase. So, explain like you're 12? Yeah? It's like
Yeah.
12 words, like chair, cat, dinosaur, aardvark. Stop there, because that is my seed phrase. Got to stop myself. Which back up your Bitcoin. So although your Bitcoin, you think it's on this little hardware wallet, which is where you send Bitcoin to from a hot wallet or from a horrible exchange. But what you're going to do is just earn Bitcoin. So you'll start stacking it in a Lightning wallet, then periodically you'll send it to your seed wallet, where your seed phrase is kept. But the wallet does some really clever maths and hides those 12 or 24 words and protects those words from ever going online. But the seed phrase itself came into being 8 years ago. Like, I got into Bitcoin in 2019, so it wasn't a new thing for me. It was something that I learned about through history. And because you used to be able to give like paper Bitcoin wallets to people, you used to be able to turn the seed phrase into a long string of numbers. And then in some BIP, was it like BIP 60?
38, 39.
I wasn't even close. Yeah, that was when the seed phrase became more easy to remember. So you can technically remember those 12 words because it's not that hard, like my dinosaur aardvark words, which isn't my seed phrase. And yeah, it's a way of keeping your Bitcoin very, very safe. So not even a central bank, not even a government, not even a dictator, not even your ex-wife can come after your Bitcoin, provided they don't see that seed phrase. And now to Giacomo for an actual decent explanation.
This explanation was very good. Just to give you a little bit of context of why it was needed, so in order to spend your Bitcoins, you need secret information that usually are your private keys. So for every coin that you have in every address, you need a secret key. And you have to store all of them. And that's very difficult. At the beginning, people used to store all the private keys in files that were very difficult to back up and maintain. So there came the idea to use just one key used to derive all the others. So instead of backing up all the keys, you just have one master key, which is the most important, and then you derive automatically. Your wallet will derive it automatically, all the others. So this key was already a great advantage compared to the previous situation. And people called it seed, because it's like a seed you plant, and then the tree of private keys grows automatically from the seed. You only have to save that. So how to save this seed? It was a very complicated, not easy to memorize alphanumeric long string. So it was difficult to write it down, not to make mistake. So there was this idea by Trezor guys, actually, to do this BIP, to use English words from a list. So you cannot use any word that you want. It's a list of thousands of words. And you can select just 12, which is enough security. You can even go to 24 if you want, but 12 is already enough. And you can memorize it, even if it's not always advised. But even just to back it up, it's better than to back up a very complicated stuff. One thing that is interesting is that right now, seed phrases are not enough anymore for Bitcoin. For example, when you receive a Lightning payment, your seed phrase can recover your key for the channel, but cannot recover the state of the channel. So you can lose money if you only have your seed. So now Bitcoiners will have to figure out something beyond the seed phrase. So you need a seed phrase, but then you need something to keep Lightning states or complicated scripts or descriptors, mini-scripts. So the technology in Bitcoin went so far that this simple thing, 12 words, is still good for a very normal Bitcoin storage, if it's very standard. But if you start to add complication to it, you need to store other stuff. So we will see more evolution, I think.
Okay, better understand it now.
Me too, actually.
Thank you. Do we have a quick question that we can do?
I think one last question. Or Joe, you have some
I was
inspiration?
going to make a general comment that I think this is really valuable and we should do this more often. Like, get someone who thinks they know about Bitcoin, someone who does know about Bitcoin, asked by a child. Because when you respond to a child, you change the way in which you respond to the question, right? And I think that, do you guys find this valuable? Yeah? I think this is a great idea, and kudos to you guys putting it together.
So you guys were talking about BIP 39. So I think a good question here, just to finish it off, is what is a BIP? What is BIP? What does that stand for?
I can do the first. Yeah, we know what we're doing now. Okay, so BIP is a Bitcoin improvement protocol, and they come around. I don't know how regularly, but you can subscribe to the Bitcoin mailing list, and it'll give you an idea. I now read it, and then I don't really read it. I copy and paste it into ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT to give me a summary of it. Then I read that, and then I still don't really understand what's going on. And then I go on Bitcoin Twitter to understand what's going on. I end up getting in a fight with someone, and I'm still left a bit like, what is a BIP? But they come around quite regularly, and the idea is to, as the word would suggest, improve the Bitcoin protocol with sort of slight adjustments. But these adjustments are months and months of work in the making. Some Bitcoin core developer has had an idea and has thought, okay, I want to propose this. They talk to the other nerds in the Bitcoin high circle of developers, and they say, okay, this could be improved in some way, and eventually it finally gets sort of tested, iterated another few thousand times, and eventually becomes this proposed protocol, which then becomes part of the Bitcoin, is network the right word there, or Bitcoin?
Depends.
Yeah.
Could be at any layer. You can have BIP for just your wallet, and for example, so again, a very good explanation. I just add a little bit of context.
Yes.
At the beginning, Bitcoin is a permissionless system, so you can do whatever you want with your Bitcoin software. You can change the rules. You can change the rules for signatures, for issuance, inflation. You can do whatever you want. In the worst case scenario, you will just fork off and not be able to interact with other people, so your Bitcoin will become useless. But you can do whatever you want. So people started to do whatever they wanted. So what? Okay, sorry. So people started to change it a lot. But sometimes you want people to coordinate among some standard. You don't want everybody to really rediscover the wheel several times, to do different solutions for the same problem. So the BIP process was a way to say, hey, there is this problem. Let's share how we solve it so that people can decide if to follow the standard or not. So as Joe said, sometimes this BIP will impact the network, like the rules. Sometimes they are just about your wallet, UX, or something like that. So some BIPs do not impact consensus. Some are just like the standard to back up seed. Some wallets, like Bitcoin Core, they do not adopt this BIP. So they're not mandatory. They're just a way to coordinate.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank
Lauren,
you so much.
Lauren, we're out of time, so you have to thank your guests and the crowd.
Thank you for coming and watching me on my first panel. And thank you guys for answering my questions.
Thank you. You were great.
All to you, Lauren. Well done.